And a very good Sunday morning to you, Grenada, whoop, and the rest of the world. Good morning, pilgrims. It is the ninth day of, where are we, June 2019. And thank you for taking some time out to join us for today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. Again, a kind of cloudy morning out there this morning. No signs of showers. I'm not saying it's not going to rain. I'm just saying I don't see any signs of showers. And I certainly hope you're going to have a great day wherever you go, whatever you do. Just remember, find some time for God. A few thoughts, just a few precious moments. Pilgrims, got a great program as always. Great program as always. Including some last minute changes which we thought we would have had to make, but as things panned out, the rundown is just the way you see it on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website and right there on Facebook as well. Yeah, hello there in the Azores. SD Notab saying hello, George. Good morning to you, sir. Hope things are going great over there. I imagine it's pretty dark over there right now, right? You should be nighttime, in which case I'm honored that you found the time to join us this early. Pilgrims, our rundown today reads as follows. As always, we'll get started with the buzz, which includes a reading from the Holy Scriptures, and where you see feedback there, Yaman, Little Angel's going to be chiming in this morning. She's got an interesting piece, as always. Then we get into the editorials. We got the regulars, the Grenada Advocate, which is captioned, Coping in a Tough Environment. Wait just a sec and find out what that's all about. And the new today is it's captioned, The Bad Roads. Boy, we got lots of them in this place, lots of them. And it seems to be getting worse. And by the way, that's what the editorial is all about. Interviews. We do have, you've heard for the last couple of weeks, you've noticed that we've been running a piece on all of our programs, talks about an event which was scheduled for last night in Washington, and I think this coming weekend in New York. Some performances are going to be put on by Ricardo Douglas and a whole slew of other entertainers. Last night they were in Washington. We'll find out how that went. And the next show is going to be in New York, okay? So yeah, Ricky's on the road and showing off his creative talents and trying to make us here in Grenada kind of proud. And I'm going to be talking with both Mr. Keynes Douglas and the person who was behind these shows, Gerry Hopkin. They're going to be joining me online by Zoom at, I would imagine, just about 9:45 or so this morning, okay? So we'll find out how things went last night. That's our interview segment for this morning. Now, features. Features. Yes, we do have an interview in the features column as well. However, before we get to that, we're going to bring you two excerpts from last Thursday's edition of Mech We Chat. Folks, as always, some very interesting stuff was said. And I thought that they were interesting enough that they should be repeated. Hence the reason we're going to entertain and inform you this morning with these two excerpts from Mech We Chat. The first one deals with the new requirements for persons who are applying for U.S. visas. Those of you who want to go to the United States, be prepared. Be prepared of what you're going to be faced with. They're going to be all explained with our guest this morning, who Gerry George, I should say, our guests who were with us on Thursday night. Gerry George was in St. Vincent. Beverley Sinclair was right here in Grenada. Good old Margaret Francis, she was in New York. Catherine Edwards was in London, a little place called Croydon. I haven't been there, but I'm assuming it's not as big as the city of London. Athie Martin was in Dominica. Dwyer Astaphan, quite a character. Dwyer Astaphan is an attorney who was in St. Kitts. And we were joined by somebody who's actually going to be sitting right in here this morning. A gentleman by the name of Kennedy Roberts. Yeah. And boy, we discussed a number of things, but we don't have the time to show you everything this morning. So we're just going to show you 2 segments. Just told you what the first segment was, and that's about those applying for U.S. visas. The other one is, guess who's back in the news this morning? Yaman. LIAT. The Leeward Islands Air Transport. Did you hear that Barbados is taking a backseat on LIAT? What's next is the big question. Well, not only are you going to hear the usual suspects, the names I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, not only are you going to be hearing them sharing their thoughts on this, but you're actually going to be hearing from the Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Mottley, QC, MP. Yaman. She made some remarks in the Barbados Parliament this past week, and we're going to share those with you. Very interesting. I admire that lady. She's very, very, very outspoken. You may not always agree with her. You may not always agree with me. But we're all entitled to our own opinions. And she has a way of expressing herself. Then, what's next after that? We are going to have, call it an interview, but I decided to put it under the features column. A segment which is captioned, "Plans are underway for the next NDC convention and universal health coverage versus the NHI, the National Health Insurance." Now, the reason why I combine the two, I mentioned that Kennedy Roberts was on that MECWE Chat edition. And like I said, he's going to be in here this morning. And yeah, he's going to be talking about the upcoming NDC convention, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's going to be in September. Could be wrong, but we'll find out for sure this morning. And I figured, since I'm going to have him sitting here one-on-one, face-to-face with me, why don't we also discuss universal health coverage? He's an advocate for that, and let me tell you, a very passionate one at that, okay? So, he's going to be talking with us this morning about that, plus the NDC convention. That's your rundown. Full 3 hours coming your way this morning. I hope you can spend the entire time with us, but if not, it's going to be up there on Facebook, so you can check it out there right after the program ends, and you will also be able to see it on YouTube. By the way, all our programs, they go out live on Facebook, and shortly after the program ends, assuming Mr. Internet's working fine, it's up on Facebook. However, on the YouTube channel, you can also click subscribe. All right, when you go to the Grenada Broadcast YouTube channel, you'll see a little banner there that says subscribe. You know what? Every time we put something up there, which is every time we do a program here on Grenada Broadcast, they'll send you a note saying, hey, new stuff, check it out. All right? So please do that. Okie dokie. Now, where are we? Let's take a look here. Let's go to Facebook and say good morning. First of all, we've already said hi to NoTap and the Azores. Kipling is sending his blessings to everybody. Margaret is saying good morning to everyone. SD NoTap says, daytime, lovely sunny Sunday. Have a great show. Daytime, over, and there's, Why was I thinking, Sean, that you are, I know that you're in the Azores, but I misplaced the Azores this morning. I was thinking you guys were somewhere near to China out there in the east. Anyhow, sorry about that. He says, have a great show. Mechaman Alexander is saying, have a great Pentecost Sunday. I wonder if the bishop is going to be doing his a cappella this morning. I don't know. You saw that on the program a couple of weeks ago. Oswin Lewis is also sending a blessed day to you guys, and Arthur Langine is saying happy Sunday. Teacher George Grant. Hey, Tessa Berry, good morning to you and all your listeners. Where are you today, Tessa? I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook where you seem to be gallivanting. The last time I saw something, I think you were in England somewhere. Wherever, nice to have you. And finally, Ernesto has just checked in. He's saying good morning to you and pilgrims. Welcome to Education Sunday, a program with a difference, making a mark that cannot be erased. Hey, thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. Now, another one just popped up here. Manel Toussaint Green. Manel, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing you before. You may have been here before, and if you have, it's obviously not been very often, but it's good to see you anyway. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, pilgrims, let's, 13 minutes after the hour already. Let's take our first little break, and then we'll come back with The Buzz.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Boy, you, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, you know? It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it. Then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thicker. So you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out. And then wait for a few minutes till it get hard. And then you slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food fairs 16 years now. I remember when I just go dropping in the fudge, I was a bit younger too, and I met Miss Harris. So I went and I said, you know, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if you would be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, you know? So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me, and then they would start, so, you know. I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, you know, at least somebody taking my thing local and, you know, other people can see it, because if it's I just have it, not much people come. A lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, you know. And especially when I go in there, all the workers is very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week? The thing finished. You know, they always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marisho. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenadac.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Okie dokie, folks. Okie dokie, okie dokie. Now, time to get into today's edition of The Buzz as he looks around here just a wee bit. Yeah, I'll tell you what. We're going to begin this morning with our good friend. Hello, little angel. Little angel. I think, you know, I just want to say a special thank you to this young lady. She is so loyal and always willing to make a contribution rather than do like so many people, just sit back and talk. Well, here's what she had to say this week. In response to the influx of Venezuelans into Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, at a post-cabinet briefing on May 23rd, said, and I quote, "To protect the interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we will have to limit our exposure to the fallout in Venezuela." The Prime Minister went on to admit that the first priority of his government was the welfare of Trinidadians and that the island will not be able to cope with a large migration of Venezuelans. He further stated that limiting the exposure of the island to the fallout from Venezuela may result in stopping the migration to his country. Dr. Rowley indicated that large volumes of Venezuelan migrants can threaten the lives of Trinidadians and that Trinidadians are responsible for protecting themselves. He also spoke about the criminal elements who may exploit the generosity of his country and that anyone found involved in criminal conduct will be deported because they are considered guests in his country. Also, BBC News on June 1st, 2019, reported a statement which was made by a U.S. department subsequent to the imposition of new visa requirements already in effect for applicants. The statement read in part, and I quote, "We are constantly working to find mechanisms to improve our screening processes to protect U.S. citizens," on and on and on and on, unquote. Requesting social media details from new visa applicants is an attempt by the United States administration to protect its citizens. Statements such as these, coming from both Dr. Keith Rowley as well as the United States, are hardly ever heard within the Caribbean. Caribbean people, on the other hand, are also citizens and need to be protected, not only from an influx of migrants, but from financial, economic, social, and political woes, which have become much too common within the region. The islands of Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, and Nevis, for example, have all embarked on citizenship by investment programs, which have come in for a lot of fire. To date, there is no indication that the powers that be have given any consideration to the number of CBI applicants that should be accommodated within these islands. Instead, much focus is on the financial values involved, rather than the values of the human capital of islanders. Other concerns for protecting citizens' rights and privileges to live and enjoy what is rightfully theirs surround attempts by the Grenada government to sell Camahan Park, to continue holding the oil and gas deal secret, to make no efforts to repair broken systems in health, education, and the judiciary, as well as to avoid managing investment projects in ways that will protect the environment. All of these demonstrate a lack of concern for the well-being of a nation and questions whether these actions and inactions reflect an interest in the people living in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. They also beg the question, Will those in authority ever understand what it is to protect the citizens of a country? At another briefing in Trinidad, it was made quite clear that education and social services are the reserved rights for nationals, citizens, and residents of Trinidad and Tobago, and that immigrants from Venezuela are not entitled to them. As a result of information coming from the population, the Trinidad and Tobago Cabinet also took the decision to review the status of all illegal immigrants, including CARICOM nationals who are currently in that country. Will the population of Grenada, or any part of it, ever convince Cabinet to do anything in their interests? And will certain rights of Grenadians ever be made public? Grenadians can only hope that one day the island and its people will strike some good luck and be protected as citizens in their own country. Folks, that's Little Angel's contribution this week. Thank you, young lady. Good to hear from you as always. Now, okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to take another little break here, and then we'll come on back and get cranked up, if you will, with the first of our editorials, which, again, comes to you from the Grenada Advocate. It's 28 minutes after the hour.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, remember, right after the editorials coming your way, we're going to take a look at the discussion on Thursday's edition of Mac We Chat. We're going to do two segments, but we'll begin with the one that takes a look at the new requirements for entering the United States, those of you who want visas. But, Athie, good morning. Fitzroy, good morning. Yes. Let's get right now to the first of our two editorials, the Grenada Advocate. And they're captioned, Coping in a Tough environment. The world has certainly become an unstable place for small Caribbean islands to do business. When the globalization train was moving along, the messages were very clear. Integration of markets, integration of production, free and better trade relationships offered benefits. This is no longer the case, as the world has become a more dangerous place. How small states cope with this reality remains to be seen. Recently, Dr. Linda Tessar of the University of Michigan touched on a point we in this region have been noticing. It has to do with multilateralism, which has brought enormous prosperity to countries around the world. However, she said it is gradually giving way to bilateralism, which is not good. The current trade war between the United States and China continues to raise alarms about what can happen to the free trade agenda that the World Trade Organization has been pushing since its establishment in the mid-1990s. Brexit, which stands for the UK's departure from the European Union, is at a standstill following the announcement recently that British Prime Minister Theresa May is stepping down. In the meantime, tensions in the Middle East, one of the hotspots around the world, are growing between the United States and Iran, at the same time that Venezuela remains in crisis. Small states want to see a global environment that is conducive to their economic space and from which they are able to extract benefits, be they trade, investment, and other opportunities that are vital for their survival. These countries have put their faith in the multilateral process, and in particular, the World Trade Organization, where their quest for trade is discussed and given maximum consideration. However, it is very unlikely that they stand a chance of having their interests looked after under the present circumstances. The trade war between China and the USA could have a negative impact on the economies of small states. They will face higher prices once the tit-for-tat between the two global powerhouses continue to play out. The tensions in the Middle East also have implications for higher oil prices and the resulting negatives for their economies. It will be recalled that the oil shocks of the early 1970s, the early 1980s, and the global crisis of 2008-2009 hit these countries very hard. The latter was raised recently by Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Cleviston Haynes. He acknowledged the difficult situation, the increase in oil prices from under $100 a barrel to almost $150 a barrel in 2008 presented for countries in the region. While oil prices have been tending upward in recent months, the USA-Iran controversy, should it get out of hand, is likely to raise prices even faster. As for Brexit, the Caribbean will have to wait a bit longer to gauge what will be the strategy for a successor to Mrs. May and how responsive the European Union will be to that strategy. Up to now, the Caribbean has not come up with measures to deal with a UK that is not a part of the European Union. Like all of the other issues raised here, there is no time to fool around. We have to act, and do so fast and decisively. Alrighty, folks. Alrighty. That is the editorial which appeared in Wednesday's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Good morning to you, Joycey, and Renewed Purpose. Renewed Purpose says, for a whole week now, your stream keeps cutting off. Yeah, I've been getting complaints, but thank God, everything's fine here. Tessa Barry says, Tessa Barry is saying the same thing. She says, the live keeps cutting off. Want to know if it is from my end? Obviously not, Tessa. Apparently, a number of others are having that issue as well. SD NoTap says, we need to build bridges, not walls, for our people. Immigration equals escape from open prison. Nearly every Caribbean island has benefited from the oil and natural resources of Venezuela. We should not turn our back on them now or any other of our brethren. U.S. wants the oil. Stop the sanctions. Let the people breathe again. Then talk about democracy. Okie doke. Folks, break time, and then come back.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Boy, yo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, you can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Well, folks, looks like we're going to have a rough ride this morning, but I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that you're sort of used to it by now. I see that Sharon's having an issue with the internet as well. She's telling Tessa it's not only on her side. And Jorge Murillo says the hackers are in it again. Sandra Davis says, good morning, all. I've been having this problem for the last 2 weeks. The live just keeps cutting off. Okay. All right, folks. Let's get into the editorial now from Friday's edition of The New Today. It is captioned, The Bad Roads. In light of the failure of the opposition political parties to raise some issues of national concern, The New Today takes it upon itself to highlight the fast deteriorating road network in the country. The main opposition National Democratic Congress and the splinter of small opposition groups on the island have been extremely silent in reminding the government that it has a responsibility to build and maintain a proper road network throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. The people will never take any politician seriously if the only time he or she chooses to raise concerns about the burning issues facing the nation is during the relatively brief period set aside for campaigning to get into office for a 5-year term. The only successful party in opposition is the one that consistently champions the cause of the people and win their confidence to vote for them into office whenever the time comes for the holding of national elections. This newspaper cannot help but note that the roads are in a terrible state and the political parties have locked their mouths. There is no need to point at the specific roads that are in a state of disrepair in the country, since they are virtually all over the place. If the current Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, was in opposition, he would have given those running the country many sleepless nights and headaches with his constant attacks on the poor road situation. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister and his ruling New National Party are sitting comfortably in the driver's seat, and the opposition is not able to ignite any fire for them to feel the heat politically. The bus drivers and public vehicle owners are complaining and grinding pain with the nightmare they have to go through on a daily basis because of the very poor road conditions. As one resident in the South said recently, he had to find a good sum of money to replace some damaged parts underneath his vehicle when it went into yet another pothole. The government is seemingly forgetting that it is collecting millions of dollars each year from vehicle owners and users of our roads, and that there is a concept called value for money. Where is the money going? What is the money being used for? Is it to maintain and subsidize the Amani program to keep the young people in line? Is the newly set up traffic wardens program with the Royal Grenada Police Force getting a big bite from the cherry? There is a virtual silence from the powers that be since the presentation of the 2019 national budget on plans to address the road situation. During the 1995 to 2008 period of the new National Party government in office, the Kuwaiti company known as CCC was very active in the country, doing all the major road projects in Grenada. Is there some sort of a problem between government and CCC that Grenadians are not aware of? Do we still owe CCC for work done over the years? And if so, how much? Grenada has not been willed to any particular politician or specific political organization, and the people have a right to know about their business. Politicians who have overstayed their time in office often make the very simple and fatal mistake of coming to the belief that the country has become their own little real estate property. Sadly, the NNP is behaving in that arrogant manner, and backed by their rabid supporters, are sending clear signals that no one should ask questions, but just take whatever is thrown down their throat. The problem has quite frankly gone beyond the point of just patching a piece of road here and there. The New today would also like to make some passing comments about a statement made by the chairman of the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association, Leo Cato, on the reduction in quantities of nutmegs from farmers to their buying depots. The chairman has cited the lack of road access to their lands by farmers to pick up nutmeg and mace as among the factors responsible for the decline. This is a damning statement against government due to the millions spent over the years on feeder roads to boost agricultural production. Where are the roads that were built in rural Grenada for the farming community? Have they vanished due to lack of maintenance? Were the roads that badly built that they have now deteriorated to the point that they are no longer usable? The Minister of Agriculture, Yolande Bain Husford, who is the parliamentary representative for St. Andrew Southwest, has some kind of explaining to give to the nation on the bad feeder roads that were alluded to by the GCNA chairman, since she is the MP for one of the 4 key agriculture-dominated constituencies in the country and cannot be allowed the luxury of remaining silent on this issue, which is very important to the agricultural sector. That, Pilgrims, is your editorial, which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Quick glance here to Ryan has now joined us. He's saying good morning, and he also says the roads have been dilapidated since I was a boy. And that's a long, long time ago, Ryan? All right, folks, I'm just going to give you a quick glance at who's coming next. Take a look. See those 2 young men over there? I'm surprised that they're awake this morning. I understand that they were performing last night. At least one of them was performing, the one with the brown t-shirt there. Would you wave, Mr. Keynes Douglas? Just wave at them. Yeah, there he goes. And there's the man who organized that whole kit and caboodle, Gerry Hopkin. We're going to take a little break, folks, and we're going to get to them right after this.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, you know? It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it. Then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thick. So you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out. And then wait for a few minutes to get hard. And then you slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food for 16 years now. I remember when I just go dropping in the fudge. I was a bit younger too, and I met Miss Harris. So I went and I said, you know, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if you all would be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, you know? So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me. And then they would start, so, you know. I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, you know, at least somebody taking my thing local and, you know, other people can see it, because if it's, I just have it, you know, a lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, you know. And especially when I go in there, all the workers is very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week for the thing finish? You know, they always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marshall. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenelec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, time now to say good morning to our compatriots in the United States of America. Take a look. The gentleman closer to me there is the one with the striped t-shirt. That's Mr. Gerry Hopkin. He's the man who's organized this big show which took place last night. And sitting next to him, playing with his lips there, is Mr. Ricardo Douglas. Good morning, gentlemen, and how are you?
Morning, George.
Hey, George. How you doing? Morning.
I'm doing fine, but I'm surprised that you guys are up and about this early. I mean, come on, weren't you out whooping up a storm last night?
You woke us up. Remember that?
Oh! I see. Yes, blame Georgie Porgy. Gerry Hopkin, gentleman on the right there, and on the left, Ricardo Douglas. First of all, Gerry, I want you to tell me about this latest scheme of yours, Mouth Open.
Yes, well, it's all about Ricardo Douglas and his North American tour. Mouth Open, story jump out. He already took it to Guyana. It was a smash there. He took it to Barbados. It was awesome there. And now he's up here with us. Last night was Washington, D.C., and on the 16th of June, that's Father's Day. It's a Father's Day treat of sorts for the folks in the tri-state area. He's going to be there, joined by Lord Nelson and Quake USA. Quake USA, one of the longest continuously running Caribbean folk group in North America. And we're also going to be awarding some stalwarts, icons, we say, in preserving and showcasing Caribbean culture, especially in the diaspora. We're talking about the Mighty Sparrow. We're talking about Derek Ventu. We are talking about Heron Rockinjay Douglas. We are talking about Hopkin Lambert, the founder and leader of Lambert and the Matadors, who've been producing Caribbean music in North America for over 40 years. We're also going to be recognizing all of these people are getting New York State proclamations. Gentle Benjamin, as the awardees there on the 16th of June. But most importantly, Ricardo is going to be headlining with his grand storytelling, and he could tell you more about that.
But last night was great. We did the show last night.
By the way, Ricky, before you go any further, the same cast you had last night, will they be appearing on Father's Day as well?
No, it's different. We had a Washington cast last night, so we had two with the dancers.
Yeah, we had Gillian Moore and Diane Woodruff, both from Trinidad, and we also had Mr. Graham, who's a musician. They all performed alongside Ricardo last night.
Okay,
yeah.
So go ahead,
They were
Ricky.
the kind of opening act, for the show. So it's a comedy, it's a storytelling and comedy, and it's called Mouth Open, Story Jump Out. And it was great, man. Last night the crowd they were just rollicking, rolling. You know, it was really, really fantastic show. So I'm a little tired, but it was great.
That's a little bit different. As a kid growing up, I used to hear the term mouth open, but after that came word jump out. So I guess you've sort of modernized it and, set it up.
But it's not word, it's story. Story jump out. Mouth open, story jump out.
Okay.
That's one of our local sayings, once your mouth open, everything start pouring out, kind of old talk. But it was great, I did all the old classics like, Flight 000. I have some new ones like about the Caribbean people going skiing for the first time, so the North Americans could really relate to that. And it's tons of jokes, man. It was just rollicking. There was a nice turnout of Grenadians. We had a lot of Vincentians. We had Trinidadians, North Americans. So it was great. So the next move is New York, which I'm looking forward to. And this is the first time I'm performing in Washington, so it was really a treat.
First time in Washington?
Yeah. I've done New York many times, but I've never done Washington before.
And of course,
Toronto.
Toronto.
Among those who attended, George, we had Grenada's consular at the embassy, Miss Rosemary Welsh. We were honored to have her present there with us as well yesterday. But New York now, it's happening at Tropical Reflections Ballroom. It's at 4501 Glenwood Road. Most West Indians in the diaspora know that venue. It's a very popular venue.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to fill the house and to treat the people with, something we know that's dying is the art form of storytelling in the Caribbean. We don't see enough of it. And there are very few like Ricardo Kings Douglas anywhere. I mean, of course, we have Paul, and we've had Louis Bennett in Jamaica, and there are a few others who we can mention. But it's something that we need to preserve. It's something we need to showcase and intergenerationally ensure that the folks in the diaspora, the children of Grenadians and Trinidadians and the other countries represented here, are aware and are familiar with and get to appreciate that art form. And I'm so happy that Ricardo can do it for us.
You mentioned something very important there, Gerry. The fact that storytelling seems to be dying. It's not just storytelling. I mean, look at Calypso. Sparrow is one of those people who still manages to pull a crowd. Okay, but I mean, come on. Nowadays, everything is soca. What's happening, man?
And George, it's appreciation. You have to know what you have and value what you have. And I think it goes back to our school. Ricardo and we were talking about that last night. Schools back in the day when you get to do you are encouraged as a school to appreciate certain art forms. You go to a concert, you go to a play. As a school, we did that. But no, there's hardly anything like that. It's all about what happens on the weekend with the big show, with the foreign artists and others. So we need to cultivate it, at our homes and encourage our children to appreciate, especially what's indigenous to us, especially what's ours.
That's why I'm also glad to hear you guys talk, or you, Gerry, talk about, sort of recognizing some of the old stalwarts. Do you think that's going to do anything to sort of rejuvenate the storytelling movement?
It could help. It could help. We have to start somewhere. And one of the things we have to do is let people know who are the people that have been, for example, Derek Ventu, he has brought several, not just Grenadian, but other artists, other performers, who have done this cultural, folkloric type cultural initiatives. Yeah, and if we recognize people and recall and remind people of that, maybe, other folks will be talking about it.
Because Derek was the one who brought Ivan up to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's been in it for a long time. But and again, it's just appreciation of the people who are doing things, in this arena. Because sometimes you wait until they're dead and then you want to celebrate them, you know.
Yeah,
So I say,
yeah.
don't bring me flowers at my grave. Bring them to me early this morning with bacon and eggs. You know? So I think it's really what Gerry's doing is fantastic, you know, to celebrate these people and just to say thank you, you know, because Sparrow and everybody, they're getting on. So it's time to celebrate them. And the nice thing about storytelling too is like last night, you will see them and people love it. You know, once you give it to them, they love it. But what's happening now in our society, I think it's becoming a party society. You know, every weekend is a blocko, every weekend is a fete, you know, every week is a baba, you know. So it becomes people living for the weekend, you know. And I think what's important is that we have to start celebrating the arts, you know, like, you know, instead of having posters up of only soca artists, have posters up of people who paint, have posters, you know, billboards of people who write books, you know, people who do poetry, you know, so the young ones growing up not only think they can have to be a jab artist or a jab. I'm not putting down that now, you know, don't write anything, you know, people emailing me and stuff. I'm just saying, you know, there is more to our culture than just, you know, the party and the weekends. You know? So there are incredible singers in Grenada, jazz, you know, gospel, you know, reggae, you know, calypso, soca singers. They're artists, they're poets, they're wonderful writers, they're illustrators. So these people have to be celebrated as well. So the young people going up and say, okay, listen, I can drive in the road and I see this guy, woman up there. Who is she? She's a writer, really? Yeah, she wrote this fantastic book. So therefore, I can be a writer too. So what I'm trying to say is that these people have to be celebrated and appreciated, you know. And once we start doing that with the arts, you will see the arts, you know, starting to rise. Schools, there should be classes in schools. I keep saying that for the past 30, 40 years I've been saying that, you know. Take the schools to a play. Some kids would never sit inside of a theater unless the school takes them, you know, because, you know, their parents and stuff, they're not interested in the arts or they, you know, that sort of thing. So it's very, very important. If there's a play happening that's educational, whatever the case may be, let the school say, okay, we'll work with the theater company and we'll take in the school or 5 classes so the students can experience being in the theater, because it's a totally different discipline when you walk into a theater and you get the discipline that you have to keep quiet, you can't use your phones, and then you learn from the play and your experiences being in this magical world of the theater, you know. So I remember when we were growing up, George, remember, I mean, we used to have to go to the movies, you know, like when the 10 Commandments came out or stuff like that, the school, we'd have to line up in formations and walk to Empire or walk to Regal. Yes. The movie. Remember that? And it's a wonderful experience, and that is what I remember, you know, and it kept me going. And again, before I go, you know, and again, I talk about, budget. We have to stop thinking about this freeness. We have a mentality in Grenada now, everything has to be free. And it bothers me. Because when I was growing up, and we had to work, we had to buy a ticket to go to the movies with the school. We had to do Bobby jobs. Yeah. I had to go and cut my neighbor lawn for 10 cents. Yeah. Clean daddy's shoes for another quarter, you know. Clean, you know, help mommy in the garden. And that's how that's how you build character. Yeah. So when the teacher say, listen, the ticket is going to cost $2, all the kids will go and they do hard jobs around the neighborhood, you know, and stuff like that. And then you are proud now that I worked for this ticket to go see a play or go see a movie, you know, and the kids learn to appreciate, you know, everything is not given to them. So along those lines, I think we have to start coming up in Grenada especially. We have to start celebrating the arts. And what's scary now, I look at every weekend, people are just saving money to buy weaves, to buy new clothes, new this, and new outfits to go on the rum runner. You
forgot the nails.
What? The nails, you know. And that's where their energy is at now, you know. So, but again, Grenada is still the most beautiful place in the world. You know?
Absolutely.
While Ricardo, while we're on this topic, one of the things we're doing there too is recognizing Ricardo. He's going to be one of the awardees. He's going to be getting one of the proclamations.
Really?
Yes. I know it was supposed to be a secret.
I didn't know that.
it was so. We are recognizing him as well with the proclamation.
Oh, it slipped out.
Yeah. But no, I want Grenada to know that they're recognized, because George, you know, the reason why I'm mentioning this here we have so many unsung heroes among us, and we need to find out who they are and give them the recognition they deserve. Ricardo, he has authored 12 books, many of which have been translated into several languages, as many as 7 languages. His books are used in schools, especially his children's books in Australia, in Canada, none in the Caribbean. Don't ask me why. None in Grenada. Don't ask me why. He has won the highest awards for acting, at a professional level in Canada. He studied at some of the best institutions in the arts. He has been Alvin Ailey there. He did study dance there. He has also hosted the first non-white person to host an hour-long talk show on the equivalent to the BBC in Canada, CBC Radio. Cloud 9 was the show. For many years, won awards with that show. All of that, and we have someone like that who has so much to offer among us, and the appreciation is almost zero. So we need to, even if we don't do it at home, we have to do it wherever we can do it, and we are doing it in the diaspora, and we're hoping we'll see more of it at home too.
I'm glad you guys are taking the discussion along these lines, because somebody I'd really like to recognize is a young man by the name of Godfrey Augustin. Godfrey has been doing his part to make sure that Calypso lives. And he's got, definitely. If it's not later on this month, it's next month or whenever, he's got this another Legends in Concert.
Legends.
Yeah. And I'm really, really looking forward to. I've only been to the last 2 he's put on. And believe me, I just about wet my diapers on each occasion, because these shows.
It's commendable. It's commendable.
Very, very commendable.
Has been doing, especially for Kaiso, but it has a it has a spin-off effect. It benefits not just Calypso, but all of our indigenous art forms when you do something like this consistently. Yeah. That's the other thing about Godfrey. He's been consistent with this.
And that's the thing. That's exactly what it is. There's no consistency and continuity, with a lot of things that we do at home. Because sometimes you do a production, and it works, and the people who made it work are there. But the next year, it's a totally different set of people doing it.
Yeah.
So and then it fails, or and because they try to reproduce what happened last year. But you're not using the people who did the show last year for you.
Yeah.
So the next day is a totally different new producer, totally different this. So there's no continuity. So I always say to them, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say.
Look at this festival that was held at Port Louis. I think it only went about 3 years. 3 years. Now this weekend there's another one called the Grenada Music Festival.
Yes, it's ongoing.
Right, it started night before last. It went on last night. I understand that the first night was disappointing, which kind of surprised me, because I understand they had a big guest, Freddie Jackson, I think his name is. And I understand that the crowd was not what had been expected. But last night, with people like Busy Signal and so on, they were expecting a humongous turnout. You talk about longevity. One of the things that Godfrey has been doing is recognizing people, and everybody knows Black Wizard. As far as I understand it, he's going to be honored at the upcoming show, and if I'm not mistaken, he's just celebrated his 50th anniversary.
That's right, yeah.
As a Calypsonian, and this guy is priceless. He is priceless. He's a gem. But, bring somebody in from, with all due respect, from Jamaica or wherever, and you'll find people spending $600, and that's including the cost of the ticket, which is a few $100s, and then the makeup and the nails and the weaves and the gang, and
You see, listen, George, I have no problem with that. If you can afford it, fine. But when you are borrowing money, because I know, they tell me that these young people borrow money, they go to Fast Cash, whatever it is, before a show, and they borrow $500, and it's just for the weekend, and then they have to pay it back with an interest, for what? To be in a VIP room that's with pay $500 and get, 5 hors d'oeuvres.
For one night.
for one night, I mean, it makes no sense to me. But if that's the trend, you know, that's fine. If you could afford it, great. But don't put yourself in debt, you know, for a fete. You know, prioritize your life. What's important? You don't have to go to every single thing. What's important? Because you don't have food in your house. You can't afford to pay for your kids' schooling, but yet you have 3 phones, you know, and you're at every party and everything, you know. So things like that. What are the priorities? I mean, that's just me. That's just how I think, you know. Because I know I prioritize my life, you know. I do without, you know. You don't have to have 5 sneakers to be in every fete and every this and every that, you know. So I don't know if what's happening with the young folks today, if that is the in thing to be at every party, at everything, but there's a consequence for that. And the consequence is that you wake up Monday morning and you can't eat, or you can't afford to pay your bill. And then you start begging, you start doing this, you start doing that for that.
Oh, you don't have money to pay the bus. George,
seriously.
I know I've heard of so many stories, people missing work on certain days because they couldn't pay the bus, and the same folks, they find the money to go to these big functions, these big parties that cost so much. So we really do have to take a closer look at how we prioritize, and we cannot just leave it up to people. I think our educators have a big part to play. I mean, parents, yes, that's where it begins at home, but our educators and our community leaders or church leaders, everyone should really be trying to cultivate a new culture as to how we appreciate, you know, things of value, you know, survival, or culture, or heritage, you know, or future.
We shouldn't be instilling in the youth today. I mean, I see ads now where they have these incredible ads where you can borrow money to buy a car, you know, and they'll give you everything, but encourage the youth to borrow money to buy a piece of land. You know, that sort of thing, where it's an investment. The moment you buy a car and it comes off the lot, it starts depreciation, you know. And the moment you have your land, you know, so that's why I think we should start to change the mindset, because I think black people, I ain't saying black people, all black people, or Caribbean people, we save for the weekend.
But guys, something we also need to recognize before we go is that, you know, times change, okay? I mean, I said times change. We need to recognize that. All I'm saying is that, you know, for us older fogies, we should be given our say and, you know, appreciated for the work that we're doing. I'm talking about, you know, people like Sparrow and a lot of the other stalwarts. It's not just about the bourgeois and so on nowadays, which is where things seem to be gravitating. But I think we still need to enjoy and appreciate the opportunity to have what we did years ago. That's what we were raised on. But remember, I mean, you know, when you and I were younger people, our parents used to think, you know, what the hell wrong with them?
Yeah. But remember, George, as you say, times change. But remember, morals and values don't change.
Well, technically, Ricky, you're right. You're right.
Should not.
Thank you. That's more like it, sir. That's more like it. Anyhow, so the next show is on 1 week from tonight, is it?
Next Father's Day.
Sunday, June 16th. It's happening in Brooklyn at Tropical Reflections, not Tropical Paradise. Tropical Reflections Ballroom, 4501 Glenwood Road, 6 p.m. And, oh, George, I can't forget to mention this, a very, very special feature. The CEO of Blue Horizons Garden Resort, Mr. Arnold Hopkin, was kind enough to make available for us. We have a special bonus, you may say. We have a 4-day, 3-night stay at Blue Horizons with breakfast every day and a dinner also thrown in there for someone who would win a raffle. But you have to be attending the event to be a part of this. A small raffle.
Hold on. You just hold on, Gerry. You just ruled me out because I got to be here, so I can't be in New York.
Yeah, but no, don't worry. What you should do, get somebody to attend in
by proxy.
Get someone to attend for you. Call one of your friends and say, listen, there's this event. Go attend for me, and they say you could win a raffle for a 4-day stay at Blue Horizons.
I'll buy a ticket for you George.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Yeah.
put it in the box.
Yeah, you know, when you mentioned Blue Horizon, the first thought that came to me was the food. Especially when you mentioned that they're throwing in the dinner. I have had dinner at that place. Out of this world.
At La Belle Creole.
Yeah, man.
The view alone is a meal.
Yeah.
The view alone from that restaurant is a meal. But the food, the cuisine, the selections, they're awesome. The beverages, and just about every item on that menu is original in terms of how it's put together. So it's a great package. You come there to that event, you get to participate in that giveaway raffle, and enjoy one of the finest garden resorts, authentic garden resorts in the Caribbean. And again, a lot of Grenadians are not even aware that we have what we have at that facility. I mean, it's 6.25 acres of it's like a botanical garden. Just about every flower, every flowering shrub in the Caribbean is on that property. You can see up to 27 species of birds there. It's the only property where you can have a bird watching tour as a guest. I mean, it's really unique to the Caribbean. That's why they've won the awards that they've been winning lately by various organizations and institutions that assess different properties, facilities, and give these awards. So they are offering something at the event as well. June 16th, Sunday, 6 p.m., Tropical Reflections, mouth open, story jump out. Ricardo Douglas, and he'll be joined by Lord Nelson, who gave us shows like My Lover, LIAT.
I love it.
It's gonna be awesome, and Quick USA gonna be rocking the place as well.
All right.
It's going to be a hot show, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, good luck, and
thanks, George.
I look forward to hearing how that goes. And as far as Blue Horizon's concerned, that property stands.
One last thing, George. For folks who might be listening, wondering where they can get tickets, they can get the tickets on eventbrite.com, or any of the popular ticketing outlets here in New York, in Brooklyn, Allen's Bakery, Conrad's, La Bay Markets. There's a new fresh market, that's a Grenadian-owned fresh market that opened in New York, called Kizuri LLC. They have produce, meat, everything from Grenada and the Caribbean. They're on Clarkson Avenue by the Greenhouse. They are selling tickets as well. And Ritz Cuisine, West Cuisine, every Grenadian and a few Trini spots are selling those tickets.
Thanks a lot, Ricky. Thanks a lot, Gerry.
How is Grenada?
Grenada is Grenada, man. Grenada is still one of the most beautiful places on earth. Lovely place to be. Boy, if only we could change our mindset a little bit, we would enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
Take it easy, guys.
God bless.
God bless, man.
We'll see.
Bye.
Mr. Gerry Hopkin and the man with the thumb there, Ricardo Douglas.
Okay,
we'll take a break and we'll come back with an excerpt from Make We Chat.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenelec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, it's now coming up on 21 minutes after the hour. On Thursday night's edition of MECRE Chat, the discussion began with a look at some of the requirements which will be making up the new policies for the issuance of visas for those wanting to enter the United States. As you're about to hear, there are pros and cons. Yes, there are those who see some level of unfairness in the new requirements. But there are also those who can certainly understand why these new policies have come into being in the first place. I want you to take a look.
A few weeks ago, maybe it was about 2 weeks ago, we talked about the possibility of OECS countries losing the visa-free access to the Schengen area because of this mismanaged CBI program. And now we are going to look at some new requirements that the United States of America has laid down for people who want to get the visa to visit their country. So there you have it. I hope the memory is good, suspecting cheap, because that's the menu. And
I suspect we could start with the U.S. visa requirement that should be easy to dispense of. You know, it is clear that the Trump administration in particular has been trying to get a grasp on the whole question of immigration. They took the matter to the court and had some pushback on it, but they are finding other ways to achieve the same objectives, clearly. And so one of the new moves is the move towards having everybody who comes and makes a visa application, except a few people, that they also have to tell them what social media platforms they have used in the last 5 years and give them the name, and also what email addresses they have had in that 5-year period. So basically, when you read the thing, it basically says, listen, don't play any games with us, just tell us. That's the tone of the document that I read. And there might be some people who might be crying now, because a lot of people think on the question of social media that because there's some people with several accounts. Some accounts are for them to do their mischief, other accounts are for whatever it is. But one thing they don't realize that they can all be traced back if you have the right resources. And so the US State Department and people like that will have the resources to do that. So I would say to people, don't go playing games. Just give it up. But it shows that the world today is becoming, what must I call it? There's much more control that can be exercised in so many different areas, whereas in the past, none of this was possible. And all of these signal to us where we are slowly heading into George Orwell's 1984. And no, 1984. Big Brother's watching me.
Oh,
yes,
that
yeah,
one.
Right. That one. And maybe too many people have taken it for granted and don't understand it. But what they can do is go back, look at what you have been involved in from your social media, know whom you have been involved with. Sometimes it's not so much the what that they're concerned about, it's the whom have you been in contact with. And that's one of the big things. So I know some people already have said to me, boy, I ain't think I got it. Don't know why they would take that view, but maybe they do have something behind. But that's an additional hurdle that has been placed in the way of persons wanting to get a U.S. visa. Will Canada do the same thing? Interesting question, but again, we have to wait to see what happens with that too.
it also brings to my mind this sense of this.
Athie is here.
Great. It also brings. Welcome, Athie, and please to adjust your camera so that you can see more.
I can see enough that he's fully bearded.
So that we can see more of you and less of other stuff. Right. So it also brings to mind, this sense of entitlement that we have, that it is being whittled away more and more. You're not entitled to a US visa. So when we ask you for these requirements, just know that you have to provide it, because the visa is not yours, it's ours.
And I think that's a point that needs to be made, because a lot of people seem to feel that a US visa is a right. Not visa is a right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, your own passport of the country whichever you belong to belongs to the government. If they want to take it from you, they can take it.
Exactly.
Because it belongs to the government.
If you misuse it, they have a right to take it out.
They can take it to it.
Yeah. Yes. All right, and there is Mr. Kennedy Roberts. So welcome, Kennedy.
We have a full slate tonight, boy.
Oh yes, perhaps.
8 persons. Okay, good.
Good.
Yeah, folks. So we are looking. The first item that we've looked at is the new requirement by the U.S. State Department that persons applying for a visa now have to tell them what social media platforms they are on, have been on, what email addresses they have used over the last 5 years. It's getting more and more intrusive. And telephone numbers, right. It's getting more and more intrusive, but I fear that's where the world is going to go. It's not, this is just one step in that direction.
Yeah. Anything you have to say about it, Dwyer? You may have had people come to you for assistance in getting stuff together for their visa.
I think this is the reality we face today. I don't see that there are many ways or any ways around this. The US, like every other country, has a right to secure itself. Whether you love them or not, they are a country into which a lot of people try to enter. Some through visas, others otherwise, and they want to have control of the process. Now, we do live in an invasive world. No question, Gerry is correct, 1984. It just happens that Orwell maybe got it wrong by a couple of years, but the process that has brought us to where we are today certainly began manifesting itself by 1984. This is how prophetic George Orwell was.
Exactly.
And more countries are doing it. We are certainly more proactive in our intelligence and information gathering in the Caribbean. Maybe we are not as blatant as the US is about it, but we certainly are. We require more information and that sort of thing. Indeed, we are in a world situation where there's a mutuality in terms of the exchange of information. Mm-hmm. And being small, vulnerable economies and societies, we really have to be able to finesse the bigger countries, otherwise they could close us down in a heartbeat. So much as we like to speak about being sovereign, our sovereignty is a highly diluted drink. We have to work smartly and deftly with the global powers that be. Now, I think and hope the day will come, while we will never compromise security, both local and international. I am hoping that the day will come when there really is a new world order and there doesn't have to be all of this. But as the world stands now, I really cannot fault the United States for wanting to have further particulars on individuals in order to be able to guarantee its people that it is doing full diligence insofar as screening people is concerned.
Yeah.
What bothers me, Dwyer, is I agree with you that we cannot fault the United States or any sovereign country for protecting its borders. But it seems that at the very time that countries like the US and European countries are tightening up their due diligence processes and their security arrangements, we are moving in the exact opposite direction. We are loosening up. When a country like Dominica, for example, can have 6 of the persons who have been given diplomatic passports and diplomatic positions end up being on the most wanted list of Interpol, end up being arrested and tried in the United States and in jail, NG lapsing. When you can have a person like Alison Madueke, former Minister of Petroleum from Nigeria, who was wanted by Interpol, wanted by her country, her local police security people found $53 million US dollars in cash in her home while she was out of country. And that person has a Dominica diplomatic passport. And when you have Francesco Corralo, who was appointed as our representative to the FAO and was wanted by Interpol and was on the verge of being arrested and flashed a Dominica diplomatic passport. And when you have all these things going on, when you have the foreign minister, Francine Barron, refusing to disclose the list of persons who have been granted diplomatic passports because it is better for the country not to know her exact words. So I am aware that we are in 2 different worlds. There's a world of countries seeking seriously to protect their borders from terror, from money laundering, and from criminality of various kinds. And then there's another group of countries into which we fall, which seems hell-bent on outdoing each other, reducing the cost of our passports, sending people overseas to sell our passports like it's bread and corned beef we're selling. And nobody can satisfy us or the international security people that we are doing even basic due diligence. So, yes, and that is probably why countries like the United States have to tighten up their border protection, because we are letting people in, we are giving people our passports, and we are allowing people ipso facto to travel, to apply for visas using Dominica passports, for example, or St. Kitts passports, and so on. So I can see why there would be the tightening up. But I believe we also have to accept that we are not doing anything to make our job easier for our citizens who wish to travel on legitimate business like medical, vacation, education.
Study.
So I think there's another side to that coin that we need to pay attention to.
But you notice what happened 2 weeks ago in Europe, where 2 people wrote to question whether the Schengen visa should be continued, because they claim that St. Kitts is at fault. Now I see the Prime Minister of St. Kitts.
The free access, you mean?
Yeah, right.
The free access to the Schengen area.
To the Schengen area, yeah. I see is it the Prime Minister or is it Mark Brantley? One of them making a big fuss about it and claiming that, that is not true, la, 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 la. But we were always headed in that direction. And no set of noise that is being made now, no set of anything is going to soften the blow. Right, Dwyer?
Well, again, you see, I hate to use this term, third world, but we in the third world have to get our acts together, eh?
Yeah.
I shared something, I think it was with Beverley today, a Nigerian guy at a conference speaking about the trillions of dollars that are stolen out of Africa by African leaders every year and secreted into European bank accounts. Let's not forget that there is a cynicism factor here in which the European decision makers. You would never find those European parliamentarians calling to exercise any sanctions on Switzerland, which is the biggest money laundry in the world. But they're all part of the same thing. As far as they're concerned, all of the money must be there. Remember, the US EB-5 citizenship program is a very corrupt program, privatized, and this was done under Obama. So we all have our problems. Now, I take Athie's point. There are going to be weak spots, unfortunately, and those weak spots will be exploited. And the impact on countries like ours is far more severe than it would be on England or New Zealand or Canada or the United States. And this is why we have to be more careful. And if we are more careful, then we might be subjected to less stringent measures, although I don't believe so, because once you're going to have presidents like Trump in the Oval Office in the United States, people who come from countries and racial backgrounds that are not blue-eyed and blonde are going to have a harder time to get into the United States. Let's face that.
Dwyer,
but our obligation, if I may just end the point, our obligation is to ensure that our standards are strict and fair. And I cannot fault the United States for what they're doing, and I won't.
Right. Yeah,
Margaret?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think all the discussion about the security concerns are valid and should be taken into consideration. However, I think for many of us who are living here in the United States, we know that much of this is not driven by security concerns as much as it is driven by concerns over the browning of America.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the big issue. This country already has structures and mechanisms in place that can take care of vetting all the people who are security threats.
Can I make a point, Margaret?
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago in the United States Virgin Islands, the Virgin Islanders were getting upset with people from the former British colonies in the Eastern Caribbean who had come to the Virgin Islands and had done very well in business, in the professions and so. And the Virgin Islanders were complaining and saying, these people are coming from these other islands and taking up positions of ascendancy, and we have to get strict on them. So the people from the down islands, our islands, went to the governor and said, you all want us out? We will go back home. We're going to sell our properties. We're going to take our money out of the banks and everything, and we're going home. The governor begged them, look, say it's only joke we're making, don't bother with that. That's just a small minority of people. Here is the point. The browning of America should be of secondary concern to us. What we in the third world need to do is to get our acts together.
That's right.
The Congo is one of the most naturally resourceful countries in the world. It is the poorest country in Africa. Why? African Congolese leaders and European and North American plunderers do what they do. They get wealthy and they keep the Congo poor. If the countries of the third world got together, took ourselves and our economies and our people and our patrimonies more seriously and ran our affairs better, the United States would be welcoming us because we will have money and power. We have resources, but we don't have the money that go with the resources. We have resources, but we don't have the power that go with the resources. We must get the power. And then the browning and all of those things will become secondary. Look how friendly America is with Saudi Arabia. It's all about the oil. They're not white.
No,
I think... Sorry, Margaret,
no,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you had started the point, so I think you should finish.
No. So I get what Dwyer is saying, and I'm not disputing that either. But it is also about power, because with the browning of America what happens is you see a certain demographic as being voting for a particular bloc, which puts you out. So it's still about, there's still the power dynamic there. Even with the Browning, when you talk about the Brownings, I'm talking about the Browning within the political context of what it means for shifting the power base from one group to another group.
And the stuff that we really don't have control over. But I do feel, as Dwyer is saying, we have control over how we deal with our affairs. And we have been too slipshod. We have been too, let me tell you something.
We have been dishonest, Gerry. We have been dishonest.
There you go. Barbados has a former minister who is wearing ankle bracelets in the United States, There might be many more, because people have just simply used the position of powers that they've had in these little islands. And you could hear a prime minister saying, I run things here. Another one saying, I am the top dog. Another man say, I am the prime minister of every square inch. And they behave like that. They don't just say it. Their actions and everything they do behave like that. And so they feel the resources of the country also belongs to them. The problem is when they switch those resources and they go to US dollars, it becomes a completely different story. But we can run, I have always said, we could have run a CBI program with a greater degree of decency and not have the problems that we're having now. Plain and simple.
I agree.
When Dominica has, 6 people, Athie, who are 6 people who are the agents, right? They are given carte blanche. They go out, they can sell the passport for, or the passport for whatever they want, once they put in extra quantity into the treasury. What kind of situation is that? It leaves itself open for people to do what is wrong.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. That was an excerpt from Thursday night's edition of McWe Chat with the usual suspects. And the issue of visas, it's quite an issue, and I guess it's going to be talked about for a little while, so I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. Now, let me say that since you're watching this right now, you're obviously watching the replay on either Facebook or on Grenada Broadcast, and that's because at about 10:20 this morning, our link up to Facebook just totally disappeared after numerous interruptions between 9 and 10:20 this morning. Well, you folks have seen this happen. It seems to be only happening to George Grant. Others are getting away just fine, no problems. But, as I always say, this too shall pass. Coming up next, we're going to bring you the second excerpt from McWe Chat, and this time we're going to be talking about Barbados taking a backseat as far as LIAT is concerned, okay? So let's take a quick little break here. We'll come on back right after this.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenelec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com, When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
All right, my dear friends. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, has made it official that her country is going to be stepping aside as far as its relationship with LIAT is concerned. The Prime Minister cited the current IMF program under which Barbados currently finds itself as one of the reasons, although she too is adamant about the need for a restructuring of the carrier. And as you will hear in this next discussion, there is even speculation that Barbados may be considering its own carrier. Yeah? Here's an excerpt from Thursday night's edition of MECWE Chat, where the usual suspects discussed this very issue.
We want to look at the latest situation with LIAT, the latest development with LIAT, Barbados taking a backseat. George has a clip, I think it may be about 5 minutes, with Prime Minister Mia Mottley stating her country's position now and the plans that they have as far as LIAT is concerned. So George, can we get that clip for the viewers and listeners, but not for us? We should have listened to it sometime throughout the day today.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I shan't be long, but within recent weeks there has been considerable discussion with respect to LIAT, the regional airline for us, and I promised that at an appropriate time I would speak to this honourable chamber and to the country with respect to it. As you are aware, sir, LIAT has had considerable challenges within recent times, and there have been a number of meetings with the shareholder governments with respect to LIAT. Barbados equally has entered an IMF program since the 1st of October 2018, and while it is fair to say, Mr. Speaker, that the crisis risks have abated, it is equally, and it is fair to say that Barbados is on the road. It is also equally fair to say that Barbados' journey is far from complete. It is against that background, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we have entered these discussions, recognizing that wherever we could in the past, Barbados has made its contribution to LIAT and indeed to securing regional affordable air transport. Over the years, we have done so without murmur. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, sir, Barbados moved from being a minor shareholder in LIAT prior to 2003 to one holding from 8.19% to where we are today at 49.4%. I should say that at one stage we held 51% in 2013. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we analyze where LIAT is today and what LIAT requires of its shareholder governments, it is clear to us that there are going to be serious challenges for us to proceed any further. Mr. Speaker, we cannot do what LIAT requires with the current structure that LIAT has today. Many are aware that LIAT has found it difficult with continuous losses to keep flowing and to keep its head above water. Indeed, many of the studies that have been done, many predating our existence as a government, make it absolutely clear that the current model which LIAT has within the 1974 Limited is not an attractive model. and that what is needed is significant restructuring, indeed a new model of governance, a new financial model, and a new operational model in order for it to be able to extract greater benefit and to provide the services which it does. We, Mr. Speaker, as a government, were persuaded by those studies and continue to be so. But we are not the only shareholder government. And there are others, no matter what we've said, or no matter how much we try to impress upon it, who believe that there are better and different ways in order to secure the viability of the airline. Mr. Speaker, sir, we accept that there is no unanimity on this issue, but we equally accept that if others want to try and to be able to do it through a different methodology, then they should be given that opportunity so to do, particularly as a sister government. It is against that background, Mr. Speaker, that we have continued to reflect where Barbados finds its position itself now as the largest single shareholder at 49.4% of LIAT. There is only so much that Barbados can responsibly do at this time, given our current circumstances and our current position on the journey which I referred to just now. Therefore, sir, notwithstanding our absolute commitment to regional air travel, and notwithstanding the fact, sir, and given in fact, the fact that the studies have recommended a different model and restructuring for LIAT, and given the inability of the government of Barbados to do for LIAT in the next 5 to 10 years what the government of Barbados did for LIAT in the last 5 to 10 years, when we moved significantly to assume major shareholder responsibilities, we have taken the determination and decision as a cabinet that it is time for us to step back, while at the same time allowing other governments to continue with their proposal to want to restructure LIAT in the way in which they have determined. I want to make it clear, Mr. Speaker, absolutely clear, that the government of Barbados is not turning its back on LIAT. Indeed, we continue to be committed to LIAT and will, one, maintain a minimum shareholding in LIAT should we reach an agreement with our sister government for them to take over our shareholding with respect to the negotiations. Two, that we will continue to provide a minimum revenue guarantee, or I shouldn't say continue, we will provide a minimum revenue guarantee on any route that is uncommercial, unprofitable, recognizing, however, that the majority of routes that Barbados is involved in is in fact profitable within LIAT. And it is against this background, Mr. Speaker, our commitment continues such that within the last weeks the government of Barbados would have sent a further $1 million of Barbados to LIAT and would also have satisfied our commitments to the Caribbean Development Bank with respect to the refleeting of LIAT. Against the background, sir, of us taking therefore a step back while retaining a serious commitment to it, we have accepted an offer from a sister Caribbean state, Antigua and Barbuda, to enter into negotiations with them to see whether a deal can be concluded with respect to Antigua and Barbuda taking up our shares in exchange for them taking up our responsibilities as a shareholder within the context of LIAT. This will require negotiations on the part of both countries, and therefore we will be writing Prime Minister Brown to indicate that just as he has established a negotiating team, the government of Barbados will establish a negotiating team that will meet with his negotiating team to settle the terms, if we can, with respect to the conclusion of the transfer of the shareholding. The Honourable Attorney General of Barbados will lead our negotiating team, and it will meet hopefully in the course of the next few weeks to start the discussions. Mr. Speaker, sir, we believe that regional affordable air travel is critical. But we also accept that life is also to be taken how we find it. The government of Barbados wishes the government of Antigua well with respect to being able to pursue an alternative model, recognizing that we cannot play that role that we have played in the course of the last 5 to 10 years, given our priorities and our challenges economically. But we believe that we can continue to play a vital role still as a minimum shareholding government within LIAT, and ensuring that as many routes as possible that LIAT conducts are commercially viable, such that it does not place pressure or burden on the overall finances of the airline. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore thank this Honourable Chamber for affording me the opportunity of sharing the position that has been reached by the Cabinet of Barbados with respect to LIAT, and we look forward to successful discussions between our two countries such that we can report properly back to the public and to this Parliament the outcome of those discussions over the course of the next few weeks. I'm obliged to you, sir.
All right, folks. All right. There she goes. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. Who is it going to be? Gerry, or is it going to be Beverley?
This, that one of the things that Mia Mottley made very clear in all that she said there is that studies have been done about how it has been suggested that LIAT be taken forward. She mentioned 3 studies. She makes the point very subtly that none of these studies have been taken on board, and that the new approach taken by Antigua is not even going to take on board any of those studies. And to me, that is one of the most powerful points that she makes in that whole thing. So she goes, she says, okay, we're not walking away. We're not walking away, we'll still give you support. But the thing about it is that although the Prime Minister says about them being part of the what they call it again? The minimum guarantee arrangement. Yeah. Barbados will have to pay very little for that because Barbados is a hub. Most flights going into Barbados are going to go in full because it's a hub, and most flights leaving going to leave full. So their minimum guarantee requirements are going to be practically zero.
Right, minimum.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So put that off the table. What happens? The other thing that I'm saying, we're going to negotiate the shares. My concept of understanding what shares are and what is being said here has left me puzzled. All right? Because if there are shares, they should have a value and it should be easy to dispense. I also heard that in 2003, the shareholding for Barbados fell. So who got the additional shares? It's all of these things that have been happening with LIAT that nobody has explained to us and we can't understand. Because that I do not know of a business model that fits that kind of operation. I really don't know. Okay? No. I think what Barbados wants to get out of it is this. Barbados has the greatest responsibility for CDB loan for 3 of the ATR aircraft. Yeah. And all that Barbados basically want to get out of this to make sure that they get sufficient money to pay off their portion of that debt. Mm-hmm. That's what Mia has been concerned about. Because she has said up front, since October 1st, we are in an IMF program, and therefore our hands are tied. Although she said they gave $1 million recently. Okay?
Since May 1st.
Well, yeah, but that's recent, May 1st. So she says that. But the truth of the matter is, what they told me in Grenada is fiscal space, yes. Barbados does not have, alone in the language as I go along, Barbados does not have the fiscal space to accommodate LIAT. But let us say that Antigua is able to purchase Barbados, the majority of the shares from Barbados. We're seeing that, we're selling that as a solution. How is that a solution? Two of us out at sea. We're sinking. Hold on, we're sinking. I have life jacket, you have life jacket. We decided to go and switch life jackets. What does that do? What does that do? Until somebody restructures LIAT so that it is run like a serious entity, nothing is going to change.
Gerry, you made a point earlier about the value of the shares. What is LIAT worth?
That's the question
today. What Mayor is going to do with Gaston is have a negotiation about a negotiation. Okay? The first negotiation is to negotiate a way to negotiate the sale.
You're a politician.
No. I take that
But I
from her
hear you.
language.
I hear you.
I take that from her language. She has to unload. She has to unload. This is a yoke around the Barbados economy's neck, which it has to unload.
Yeah.
Let's go to the potential buyer. Let's call a rough number. Let's call a crazy number, Gerry. Suppose Barbados they have 49.4 points in the company. Suppose they say they're going to hold on to
10%.
9.49 points and sell Antigua 40 points. Let us suppose those 40 points come up to $40 million. Does Antigua have $40 million to pay for those?
I agree.
Let me tell you what I believe. Let me tell you what I believe. I believe a private player, a sponsor, a funder, a backer is behind the Antigua initiative. And this could transform LIAT into something, maybe what Gerry would prefer it to be, a private, either a privately run entity or an entity run like how a privately run entity should be run.
That's what I
I don't think Antigua has the money.
Dwyer, just sit back a little bit. We want to see
Yes,
it though.
sir.
Sit back a little. Attaboy.
Yes.
Good. Okay. That's
Right.
No, but
So-
but Dwyer, when you haven't said that, I find that the Prime Minister of Dominica been batting on several wickets. He wants the Antigua, sorry. He wants the new campus, the 5th campus of the University of the West Indies, for which money has to be expended. In fact, that decision should have been made on the 31st of May. Today's the 6th, we haven't heard anything, and he was prancing up that certain countries judged them and all that kind of foolish stuff. There have been the whole question of the banking situation, all right? We're now hearing the true reason why the Canadian banks are leaving, but that's a story for another discussion. But he has been pressing that they be given the right to buy the banks, all right? So all the stuff that he has been pushing for requires capital.
Money.
That's right. So I agree with you. Unless there's somebody in the wing, waiting in the wings. But then that brings the question back. If LIAT is supposed to be a company of island shareholders, how does a private entity or individual fit into that?
They will work that out, man.
I am not work it out.
They have it worked out already.
Are we ready for the working out?
No. We're not only not ready for the working out, but we are going to have to strangle some people. Maybe not literally, but strangle them to get the information out of them.
Maybe literally is right.
Folks,
Choke it out of them.
we wait to see what is the next step for LIAT, because one thing we know for sure, just as Dwyer said, Antigua doesn't have the money. And we're not sure if it's Mr. Chowski or Mr. Larry King that's going to pay for it. But we will see how soon the money comes forward and when the shares are going to be handed over. But in the meantime, we taxpayers continue to burn every time LIAT flies. And there is no end in sight to that right now. We want to go talk about healthcare.
Quickly before you go on that issue, I understand and it has been touted that one of the reasons why, remember, and just give me a couple of seconds to put this, position this correctly.
Hurry up.
That White Oaks, the company that Barbados paid $27 million to, to sort to give them advice in terms of how they restructure their economy, right? It is a scandal in itself. Said that they have been advising Barbados on the whole LIAT situation. Now, there's been a thing that perhaps Barbados has plans for its own airline. I'll just leave that there for what it's worth.
Yes, there's some speculation as to that.
Yeah, some serious speculation.
I've seen that conversation.
Serious speculation.
More 747 coming into the region.
Me, I get enough cost for that. I keep them out at that.
Well.
Yeah, he's still here. He is. Well, what did you think? Mia Motley and LIAT. Boy, let me tell you, this LIAT story still has a long way to go, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on it, see what happens, and we'll keep you abreast. Now, my dear friends, you probably noticed in the last two pieces that we did, there was a young man on there by the name of Kennedy Roberts. Kennedy joined us on Thursday night to talk about universal health coverage. All right? And he's here with me right now. Take a look. Hold on a sec. See that smiling face over there? That's the man. That's the man. Kennedy Roberts. Kennedy is going to be joining us next. And yes, I do expect that we're going to be talking a bit about universal health coverage because this man has an awful lot to say. It's something that's been very dear to his heart, and I'm sure you're going to be interested in what he does have to say. However, two things. One, we're also going to be talking about the upcoming NDC convention. You know, NDC has got a lot of people wondering, what the hell's happening? We're not hearing a lot from you guys, you know, occasionally, every week. Let's stretch it and say every week. Claudette Joseph, their public relations officer, she does put out a piece which I publish on the Grenada Broadcast website routinely. It's titled or captioned NDC Heartbeat, okay? But apart from that, people are wondering, you know, why have they been so dormant, quiet? Well, I'm going to see if we can get that question answered this morning, and whatever else that Kennedy feels that we ought to know about the upcoming convention. The second thing I wanted to mention is that on Thursday night, we did discuss universal health coverage. And again, I thought that piece was so important that I've decided to run it for you tomorrow morning. Yes, I know it's Whitsuntide Monday, but no rest for the wicked, they say. So we are going to do a program tomorrow morning. And one of the pieces I'm going to run, you know, we don't usually have guests coming in on a Monday. On Tuesday we got Ray. On Wednesday we have Sharon. On Thursday we have Alan. And on Friday we have Brian. Nothing on Monday. Well, we had to drop the Monday guest because, as you know, we had Carrie Koo on there. And boy, we were having a lousy time with the internet from Carrie Koo. Valerie Thompson was the last person to be hosting that particular segment. Well, we had to drop it after a while because you folks were complaining, and quite rightly so. I understand that some work has been done on the internet and Carrie Koo, although I'm still hearing the complaints. Look at our friend John, who joins us pretty much every day. Right now he's on the road, but up until last week he was in Carriacou and having issues. So God help us when it comes to internet service in this country. But anyhow, having said all of that, let's take a little break here. And which one are we going to go with? We'll go with that one. Take a little break, and we'll come back with Kennedy.
Boy, you, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say, kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, Kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let me go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Alrighty, folks, it's now about 12 minutes after the hour, and time to say good morning to first and only in-house guest today, Mr. Kennedy Roberts. There he is with a smile. How are you, bro?
Good morning, George. Good morning to your viewers, listeners everywhere. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very blessed to be here.
You're saddled up for a long weekend?
Yeah, well, it has been a nice long one already with the music festival taking place. Wifey and I went on Friday night and last night, and it was really nice.
Tell me about those 2 nights. Because I mentioned this morning that somebody was telling me that the first night was so-so.
So-so. It wasn't a very big crowd. I think, compared to last night, they had 2-3 times the crowd that was there on Friday night.
Now, last night was reggae, right?
Reggae.
Right.
Maxi Priest, Kimani Mali, Itana. That was a surprise.
Itana was here.
Itana was there. She was really, really good. And Busy Signal ended the show.
Okay.
We left before he really got into his performance.
Okay, and what about the first night?
The Friday night, again, Freddie Jackson was good. It's vintage, and the other performances were okay, but it wasn't like an exceptional, that wow, like last night it was really a more upbeat, and I enjoyed last night, but Friday night it was good.
I'm kind of surprised because Freddie Jackson, as I move around the streets of St. George's, I was hearing people, man, Freddie Jackson's coming to town. I'm going and see Freddie Jackson. So I was kind of surprised to hear that they didn't have.
But no, when you say the crowd, last night I think they had 5,000 people there.
Okay.
So if they had 1,500, 2,000 on Friday night, it's still a good crowd, but you could walk through the crowd and without.
Yeah.
But last night it was like sardines. It was jam. You couldn't walk through the crowd easily at all.
And you going there tonight?
I don't think we're making it tonight.
Now tonight it's what?
Soca.
And
they're going till morning.
They're going till morning.
Because tomorrow is a holiday.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So they're saying they're going till morning, and they're going to be a massive show.
All right. So what have you got planned for your Whitsuntide? You going to Whitsuntide Sports?
I'm thinking about passing there this afternoon.
Okay.
So I have some friends who are going to be there, and we say we can probably link up and take in a bit of the sports this evening.
All right. Yeah, I'd really like to see the Whitsuntide Sports be a success.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it to Petit Martinique this weekend because the Petit Martinique Regatta is ongoing, and I got some videos over the last couple of days showing what's been on Friday night in particular, and I heard it's going pretty well. So I'm sorry that I'm missing out this year, but hopefully God's willing next year I should be back.
Yeah. The Petit Martinique, so Petit Martinique Carriacou, they have two regattas.
Yes, the Whitsuntide weekend is
Petit Martinique, and August weekend
is Carriacou.
Yeah. So far, did it go well for Petit Martinique?
Yeah, this is going pretty well so far. Yesterday, today is really a big day, so, and then tomorrow, going into tomorrow morning. This actually, the action that starts this morning, 10 o'clock, is going till 10 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be a 24-hour, no, the whole night there would be action that goes into 5 o'clock Juve. And they take a break about 9. So you're having a 24-hour party going on in Petit Martinique as of now.
Then people know the party. Petit Martinique. I mean,
a 24-hour party. It's really, really cool.
Kennedy, let's get down to brass tacks here. The NDC, I know that they're preparing for a convention?
Yes, certainly.
September?
Well, no. In the General Council in April, they said it's going to be by November.
November?
Yes. So a date is being considered. They're working on the logistical things, if the place is available, making sure that all the facilities are in place to have it in that location, and then we're going to make it public. But what is happening is that the party has been able to fill some of the vacant positions in an interim manner. And we're really trying to have a mobilization campaign and awareness campaign to get our supporters to not just be supporters, but be members of the party. Mm-hmm. We all know that the last two elections were 15-0, and as someone said it in a workshop I had in St. John's a couple Saturdays ago, they say after you get two 15-0 licking, it's a little tough to deal with. And this last year has been a difficult one for the supporters of NDC. They realize that the political leader has resigned, the chairman has resigned, the PRO has resigned, the party is people are saying they're not hearing the party out there as they should. We're not addressing the issues, and there are a lot of issues to address. So I've been asked to play this role as the interim PRO as we prepare for the convention. And as a result, we've been doing some planning, doing some preparation, and we're about to launch out a program that would have us out in the public a lot more visibly. We have consistently been doing the article, as you rightly said. Claudette has been playing a major role in that, and it's a team approach that we're using. And other people are working out there, and behind the scenes, some of us are doing multitasking. But it has reached a stage now where the party is going to be going out there to get the members to be more active, and people who are interested in becoming part of that new executive when the convention is held, they need to be involved now. They need to join the party. They need to get involved at the constituency level. So I know all the constituencies are going to be more active over the next few weeks. So we were asking people to reach out, give us a call, send us a Facebook, a WhatsApp, a email, and let us engage and see how your role can contribute to the rebuilding of the party. Because there's a lot of work to do, and I think that this government is going through a crisis of governance. You know, we have all sorts of problems in every sector. There is no synergy among the team, and as a result, we are going through the motion. So even though the IMF and World Bank and so are looking at the numbers and saying, yes, Grenada is doing well economically, the reality is the government is not spending money on the areas they need. One of the editorials today in the New Today talked about the road situation. It is really ridiculous. However, if you're not spending and you're taxing the people and you're getting the taxes, obviously your balance of payments, your numbers will look good. You're importing, you're taxing people, and we're not exporting. So of course we are no balance of trade, but our balance of payments figures are, we are doing good on the books, but really and truly, in reality, on the ground, people are catching their tail, and it is evident. You know,
you mentioned taxes. Let me stick a pin here because I heard recently that additional taxes are being considered for the national health insurance. Okay, Kennedy, you and I know the money has to come from somewhere.
Right.
But Kennedy, when you stop and think about, what the people of this country have just gone through for the last 3-4 years, to slap some more taxes on them, boy.
Now, you see, George, one of the things that we need to understand about the health sector, yes, health is expensive, but when you look at how much we're spending on health now, Grenadians are already spending a lot out of pocket on healthcare. So the issue is not how much money, but where the money comes from and the sources. Because one of the objectives of the World Health Organization's health financing policies is that we reduce the extent to which people pay out of pocket when they need care. So if we're saying, okay, there must be a different way then, because if we want to reduce out of pocket from over 50% to 20%, it will take a lot of policy initiatives to set the stage for that. So yes, we have to look at it somewhere. But before you can talk about more money going into the system, we have to think of how are we spending the existing resources that we're putting. And when you look at the quality of care being delivered in the government facilities, especially in the community, people are not using it. Why? Because they're not happy with the quality of care. The district medical officers all have their private practice. And we know that their private practice is what they depend on. So what they're doing with government is going through the motion and barely giving token service to say, okay, service is being provided. But if we have a national health insurance program, we're telling people use the services out there where you don't have to pay at the point of service, maybe a little co-payment or something, but the bulk of it will not be paid out of pocket at the point we need care. But where are we going to access the care? Are we telling people to go to the doctor's private office and we pay the doctors on a fee for service? That is not being discussed. How are we going to pay our providers? How are we going to improve the quality of care? And this is what the government is missing. So while they're talking about the need to have money and pool it and spend it, they're not talking about the details. So yes, they have a little consultation going on now looking at NHI in isolation. We should be talking about our entire health system in a harmonious way. So the government is missing the picture.
Two things here I want to ask you about whether or not we do have a cadre of qualified health professionals in this place, doctors who can deal, with, I'm not saying every demand that is being made, but a substantial demand for health services. Do we have a cadre of personnel here?
I think generally we do. Especially if we include St. George's University in the mix. And this again is...
But is St. George University included?
No.
Why not?
We have 200 plus clinical tutors there, and I think at times it's more. These guys want to volunteer in our health system. They tell me that every week. Some of the Caribbean doctors, they try to get registration. They go through hurdles upon hurdles to be registered. It takes months, and eventually when they get registration, they have to renew it the following year. It takes another several months to just renew. And it is of the opinion, people are of the opinion that it's a strategy to keep them out of the health system. Because I have heard Grenadian practitioners say that if all these those clinical tutors end up working in our health system, they are going to lose money. So a lot of the health practitioners here are concerned more about making money than providing health care.
But didn't you say these professionals at SGU are willing to volunteer?
Yes, but to volunteer you have to be registered.
Yeah.
So if you're not being registered, you cannot volunteer.
So how then could money be lost? I'm listening to you say this, and it reminds me of when I came back to Grenada. When I came back to Grenada, people frowned at me because they thought I came to take their walk. I ain't come to take nobody walk.
There's enough to increase the size of the pie. Listen, Brother George, there's so much collaboration we can do between the SGU and the Ministry of Health. I found a letter. This is the 20th anniversary of the Public Health Department. I found a letter I sent to the PS. Lana MacPhail was the PS at the time, in the early 2001, 2002, where we wanted to strengthen the collaboration. We asked for a meeting. We list out 4 major things, which included working closer with the community health services, training of health workers. They never even responded. You know, to collaborate with the Ministry of Health is much more difficult than it should be. There should be a smooth relationship. There should be a functional way in which the Ministry of Health is benefiting from the resources of St. George's University. Yes, they're benefiting to a certain extent. The cardiology clinic, you know, there are a few things going on. But there is room for a lot more. So when we talk about more money, we're losing sight of the human resources we have. Health is about people. Health is a basic human right. That is why the World Health Organization is pushing universal health coverage. And it is not in isolation. The Sustainable Development Goals are the goals that the United Nations have agreed upon, and Grenada is a member of the UN. We agreed that by 2030, these 8 Sustainable Development Goals will be achieved. Goal number 3 focuses on health. There are 3 or 4 other goals that affect health, like number 1 is on poverty, and there are 3 others that integrate with health. But 3.8 specifically talks about universal health coverage.
Stick a pin, because I want you to explain.
Right.
People are hearing a lot about universal health coverage, UHC.
Right.
Piece by piece, Kennedy, explain it to me.
Okay. Now, the world has come to the realization that no matter how many doctors you have, no matter how many hospitals you have, your health system, what makes the function, your information system, your pharmaceutical and procurement, yes, your healthcare delivery, how it is financed, your workforce, your infrastructure, your technology. These things have to work in harmony to improve the quality of life of people. So universal health coverage is saying, listen, all these elements must work in harmony. We cannot address financing unless we address the information system and our delivery of care and these other components of the health system. So universal health coverage is saying that everyone in your population, everyone means 100% of your population, should have access to quality health care when they need it without having to pay at the point of service. Meaning you need to have a mechanism to raise money, like national health insurance, to pool it, to manage it, to pay our providers. But we have to look first and foremost at the quality of our healthcare being delivered. And when we talk about quality of care, it is not quality of sickness services that is provided. We're talking about primary health care. We're talking about prevention. We're talking about focusing on early childhood so that the brain of every Grenadian baby is developed to its fullest potential, so that when they get to age 5 and in preschool, they can maximize their learning potential. We have to look at our primary school system and integrate health into it so that our children would develop values and morals, because health is not just about physical health. It is also mental and social well-being. So if we have to deal with our coping skills as adults, it has to be inculcated while they're children. So school health programs and comprehensive school health programs mean that your school is the center of your community. And again, Dr. Didicus Jules did a presentation last week at the Conference on the Revolution, which highlighted the way in which education was addressed during the Revolution. And the reality is that was a school-centered approach, where the school as the center of learning in your community is not shut down at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You had the school where the community participated in the teaching of the children. We know on Fridays when the teachers go to the NISTEP program, people from the community go into the schools. Parents are involved, but rather than have PTAs, you should have community associations, school associations. So health has to be integrated into our school system. Health also has to be integrated into our agriculture. Agriculture in Grenada has been on the back burner. Nutrition is so important. They're telling us about fruits and vegetables to reduce your cholesterol, to reduce obesity, to reduce hypertension. Everything they're telling you, eat your vegetables and fruits. How are we really producing? How are we using our agriculture system to feed into our school feeding programs? So again, these linkages must be there. How do we care for our elderly? Our elderly in Grenada are going through real stress. And if we are lucky, Brother George, we might get old one day. And we want to know that there are systems in place to help elderly persons with their quality of life. So when we talk about health employment, there's a UN report on health employment and economic growth that I've been talking about for the last couple of years too. It tells you we need to focus on wellness. In our school system, we have social workers, one per school. We need to have social workers at every form level. So these social workers can really work with the students and their parents and community. We need workers who can help support our elderly population in a structured way. But we need leadership, and that is what the health sector is lacking most. And because I think Dr. Mitchell is tired, he knows that if he steps down, his party is dead because he has no succession planning in there. And I was part of the system, and I've seen over the years how Dr. Mitchell has become the absolute leader. Everybody depends on him for their survival. So if he steps aside, nobody can have the ability to pull. So that is why Dr. Mitchell is going to remain as political leader of NNP. He's going to be running in the next election. But this time around, he's going to realize that people are not going to be fooled by the antics of the last election. And people are going to look at the issues. They're going to look at the quality of life. They're going to look at this last 25 years and determine, have we really progressed? Has the Imani program really helped young people? And young people are realizing that it is just a plan to keep them as supporters so you get a little stipend. But all these issues are linked to, for example, NIS not getting revenue.
Subservience. Okay, I don't want to leave healthcare yet. We're still talking healthcare. Where does the government, you just gave us a nice definition or explanation of the universal health coverage. Where does the government stand on that? Or do they have a stance?
Well, interestingly, during the last election, I remember there was an article in one of the papers, is it NHI or UHC? And the government was saying NHI is what they're promoting, even though at the international level they are accepting the importance of universal health coverage. George,
I don't understand that.
Because I've been telling them for years that they must do it. They must say it eventually.
UHC.
Yes, they must say it eventually. But their ego, and this Minister of Health ego is surpassing his ability to perform.
Wasn't he just at a conference?
Yes, he was at the World Health Assembly. He came back to Grenada and said nothing about universal health coverage. Now, I get the reports and from these meetings. So as soon as it finished, I got the summary of the resolutions passed and the conclusions. And apart from others, I focus on the three relating to universal health coverage. Go back to primary health care. Focus on quality of care of services in the community which people live in. Secondly, focus on your community health workers, and your health workers are the ones who really drive the system. And the third one, they're planning for a global meeting at the UN in September to look at universal health coverage. So while the world is pushing it, while we are agreeing up with it internationally, this Minister of Health has decided that he's not going to use the word. Even in the health plan that they have 2016 to 2025, his introduction talk about health as an investment rather than health as a human right. They make reference to universal health coverage once when they talked about a workshop held in 2014 to look at universal health coverage. Their plans and programs are not designed to achieve our sustainable development goals. This government is depending on Dr. Mitchell and his political savviness to win an election, to rule this country, rather than to govern this country in the interest of people. And that is why the NDC is saying, listen, people out there who have an interest in contributing to their country, step forward now. This is the time when we have to show Grenadians that NDC is alive. And all of us have to step up. I would like to see 10 potential leaders emerging to say, let us contribute and work as a team. One will eventually become the leader. And I believe that the public wants to see that happen sooner than later.
Two things. Kennedy, one. the people of Grenada over the years have heard promise after promise after promise. Them guys ain't good. We the answer. We are the solution. Hasn't happened, Kennedy. Hasn't happened. And to tell you the honest truth, I don't know if and when it will ever happen. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, in the absence of an apparent interest from by the current health minister in universal health coverage, do you think that there is enough of a push out there to make UHC happen?
I believe we have to really hope that the Prime Minister takes some action on this, because he's the one that ultimately leads his government. And it is so glaring what is happening. I can't understand how they could be so daft to not see the importance of this universal health coverage approach. But the thing is, it entails consultation with your people. Universal health coverage says that as we talk about primary health care and we talk about it, we need to talk to our people. People need to be involved in the process.
Need to talk to our people. And the reason why I'm asking this, I promised earlier on that I was going to run the segment that you did on MECRI Chat about universal health coverage. And one of the things that jumped out at me in that segment is that you were complaining that, yes, there's a lot of talk about consultations taking place out there, but they seem to be misinterpreting consultation to mean the fact that you go out and tell your constituents this, and not really paying attention to what your constituents are saying to you. Consultation's a two-way street.
And that is why, George, again, it's a lot of policy issues. We have to really realize the importance of local government. We should be having local government in Carriacou as constitutionally stated, and we should be having it in Grenada. We should be giving the community an opportunity to discuss issues in a structured, sustainable way. So that is a policy issue. And that is why the NDC is going to be going out there, and we're going to start some meetings. We're going to start some dialogue. And over the next few weeks, you're going to be hearing about our outdoor, indoor activities where we're going to be having that dialogue with the people.
Are those activities going to be sustainable?
Well, I hope that Papa God is going to give us the ability to pull together a team that will see the importance of saving Grenada now. And if we start something and the momentum picks up, I believe that Grenada is in for a very good time.
And you're right, you know, Kennedy, Grenadians have become very complacent after having been disappointed, used, and abused so many times. You know, it's like they're throwing their hands back up in the air and saying,
You see, George, we're losing the love. We are losing our love for each other. We're losing that basic respect and interaction that can help us go to the next level. We are realizing, at least I have realized based on my experience with this government, that they don't want to include people in nation building. They don't want to see...
Don't want to include some people, because there are some people who are doing
they
very,
don't want to
very
include
well.
everybody.
All
Exactly.
right.
You know, and those of us who have the ability to contribute are not being addressed. We're not being included. And yes, they will tell me, oh, yes, we've indicted you to this. Yeah, but if you talk, and no action is taken in that direction, not even the verbal indication that, yes, universal health coverage is not about NDC. It's about Grenada. It's about the region. It's about the world. The current director of PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, is from Dominica. Her mission is to implement universal health coverage in the region. And I know her well, and I know she's concerned about Grenada. She's concerned that we are not looking at the issue in a holistic way. We are not interested in people, we're interested in money. And that is the focus of this government. They're focusing on the money part without realizing that the people part must go hand in hand. So yes, NHI is important. National Health Insurance, I've been working on that since 1995. I am the person, when working at the OECS, that reached out to the region. Our report for Grenada was in 1996. If we had taken some incremental steps, we would not have been talking about that today. We would have been a model, and the region would have been better for it. But this government has gone through the motion, and 25 years has passed, 24 years since they came in office in 95, and they're realizing that, listen, nothing has happened. They go on retreat, but same khaki pants. And unless we look at our reality in Grenada, get more from our people, get more from St. George's University, get more from the University of the West Indies, because there are a lot of people willing to help us.
And you're sure SGU is one of them?
I am positive. I've been down there for 20 years. And I have a mandate and an official letter telling me to say this, but I know that our health department, the Department of Public Health and Preventive Medicine, can do a lot more with our health system. Even though most of our students are now online and not physically in Grenada. But there's a lot we can do. We have faculty, we have visiting professors, we have students in the medical school who are into public health, and we can do a lot more. But that dialogue needs to be at different levels, not just at the highest level.
All right, let me ask you this. We've heard a promise that the NHI, National Health Insurance, is going to be launched, I think, in the first quarter of next year. You've heard that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
realistic, Kennedy?
No, it isn't. In the same way, you remember in September, October 2016, they said it's going to be implemented in July 2017? And I told them the same thing. If at this stage we do not have that dialogue with our health practitioners, not just the doctors, but our nurses and other health workers who are working out in the community, let us know how they're going to be improving what they're delivering out there. Let the people know where they're going to access care. They say they're having consultation now, but they should be able to know these things if they're looking at a rollout date, because when you see, they also know in the literature and so on, it is clear that timing of implementing health financing reform is important. And it is generally argued that any government who wants to successfully implement financing reform needs to do that in their first 2 years in office. Because as you get closer to an election, it becomes more difficult to implement health financing options where you taxing people. So the government feel that they have 15-0 now, so they could tax you for NHI. And they're trying to do it fast so it could be done in first 2 years. But you need to do it properly. And doing it properly entails dialogue. And I must say that I am very sympathetic to the workers in the NHI Secretariat. I know they mean well. I know my colleagues from the University of the West Indies who have been advising them means well, but they have told me they're doing what the government asked them to do. They're not here to talk about universal health coverage and Grenada health policy. They're here to do a consultancy looking at the costs of providing health services and how to implement NHI. And I told them they're doing us a disservice. I'll try to get a recording that I did a presentation in Suriname last year where I was very critical of their approach. They were not happy with my presentation, but I told them I did it with love because I love Grenada more than I love the University of the West Indies. And while they can get a consultancy for how much, hundreds or thousands of dollars, I want to see that to the benefit of the Grenadian people. And I believe that the consultation and the work they're doing on national health insurance now should really be done within the context of universal health coverage and talk about that. But if they don't understand it properly, then it's hard to push something.
Let me ask you this. You know, it's one thing to have a high caliber of medical professionals, but it's something else to have a high caliber workforce. There have been a lot of complaints about the attitude of some of the people in the workforce. I have no doubt that a lot of it is exaggerated because I have been treated in those hospitals and received wonderful care. Okay? But how do we change the mindset of our workforce, because this universal health care, that's great. It's great. But Kennedy, we need the people to enforce it. Is that where you talk about a lack of leadership?
Well, apart from the ministerial leadership, which is totally lacking, our chief medical officer, I know him for a very long time, since we were teenagers, right? He did his MPH with us. He did his medical degree in Cuba. He did his MPH at St. George's University. I know Dr. Mitchell means well, but I think
George Mitchell,
Dr. George, our chief medical officer.
Yeah.
I think he means well, but I believe he's constrained in several ways.
As are a lot of people in high office.
And he's not talking the language either. He knows about universal health coverage, but I can't understand if he's afraid of the politician, because I know that it took a while to appoint him, and there's some other political issues around that. But I believe that he should step up and say something. Our permanent secretary is administrative, and I don't expect her to talk about that. But it's a policy issue. And if the chief medical officer is supposed to be advising on policy, he should really advise his minister to let Grenada take precedence over his ego.
Like you say, Kennedy, he's probably very, very well-intentioned, and he's not the only person in this country who is well-intentioned and wants to serve this country well. But there are a lot of people who are scared stiff to speak out.
Certainly.
And say things.
No, it is real. People are telling you, boy, if I go and open my mouth there, you think my daughter will get a scholarship?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and when I talk about lack of leadership too, April 7th is World Health Day. Last year, our minister didn't give a speech for World Health Day. This year, the World Health Organization used the same theme. Guess what? Universal health coverage. Everyone, everywhere. That is the theme for last year and this year. That was the theme for the WHO Assembly in Geneva last month. So I think our media practitioners, and I've told on other stations that why aren't you asking these questions? Why at the post-cabinet meeting aren't you asking them about universal health coverage and why they're so silent on it? But guess what? Eventually they will say it, and it would be interesting to hear what they say and what action they will take, because the action is simply going to your people and coming up with a plan where they're involved and they see it revolves around them.
All right.
And the money is going to come.
All right. You say so?
No, the money's been spent already. So the money's already in the system. But how it is spent, rather than out of your pocket and paying when you need care, there must be some other mechanism. But I believe that discussion is not yet mature to implement in next year.
All right, Kennedy. I want you to give the Grenadian people hope. I don't think nobody that I know would deny that our healthcare system is in the shambles. It's an embarrassment. Kennedy, obviously, in the run-up to the next election, you guys are going to be touting, that you are the solution. But my friend, there is a lot of skepticism and cynicism out there, because we the people, to coin a phrase of a friend of mine, have been lied to so many times, and I hate to be so blunt, but I can't lie. Okay, Kennedy, take the next few minutes, my friend. Try, and convince us that, even though it may be just a teeny-weeny little bit of hope, that there will be a difference, Kennedy.
Now, George, I think most Grenadians want to see something happen to give Grenada that lift.
I agree.
I believe that while even the NNP supporters who saying Grenada doing well economically, they have been telling me too that they realize things tough in Grenada. They're acknowledging that we are not doing the best we can. So they're acknowledging, yes, we're doing good, but we could do a lot better. And I believe that the NDC is at this stage of reorganizing, where Grenadians, both inside and in the diaspora, have to step up with their level of commitment to country. Within NDC also, we have to realize that we need to be more united. NDC has a history that people are wondering, listen, you will always have some internal breakup and fight. We need to show the love within the NDC. Our symbol is the heart, and I believe that Grenadians have to acknowledge that NDC is the alternative to the NNP. There is no other alternative politically in Grenada right now, and it takes the rebuilding of NDC to give Grenada that hope. I am playing a role as the interim public relations officer to reach out and try to ask our supporters to become members of the party. We have an approach that would be inclusive of everyone. And sometimes people say, well, if NNP people in charge now, if we come out, we have to get rid of. And I believe this is one of the things that we have to break that cycle. I believe that our democracy can go to the next level where we have structures in place to facilitate that dialogue. And based on what the NDC is saying, we are committed to implement that local government in Carriacou, and we are committed to implementing a program on the mainland to have continuous consultation with the people, because people needs to feel involved. People needs to feel that their contribution is worthwhile and their quality of life can improve. We have to take a team approach, and we have to talk seriously with all the stakeholders in Grenada. We have to make the private sector feel comfortable that the NDC want to work with them to get things at another level. We have to show the farmers that we are serious about agriculture to feed ourselves, feed our children in our school systems, feed our communities. And yes, like manufacturing, we know we had it before. We can can mangoes. We can can tamarind juice. We can can soursop. We've done it before. So we have to show the Grenadian people that the policies of the NDC, and if they look at the manifesto and the plan of 2016, a lot of it is in there. But the key element is we will have dialogue with the people. We will include the people in nation building. We're going to be open and transparent in what we do. It's not no hiding contracts So the NDC is open for business, and we want to work with all Grenadians.
I certainly hope your holding of dialogues will be different from the current modus operandi when it comes to holding dialogues.
No, policies should be problem-centered. We need to identify the problems and see how we can get solutions. There's a simple model in health policy. It starts with the problem. So once you clearly define the problem, but if you define the wrong problem, your solutions, like NDC is committed to the involvement of people and looking at universal health coverage and doing these things. But we have to get the people to support that agenda.
All right. You mentioned engaging the diaspora. I have no doubt. Listen, I know that there are a lot of people out there who are willing to help. But Kennedy, just this past week, I noticed on social media that the diaspora was being lambasted because somehow the person who was doing that feels that the people out there in the diaspora think that they know it all. They have all the answers. They cock up the tail in New York or Toronto or wherever and open them out. Huh? That was on Facebook this past week. Now, having said that, a lot of them fall into that category. But I will be the first to tell you, having taken this program on the road, Toronto, Montreal, New York, London, I know that there are a lot of people out there in the diaspora who have bent over backwards and busted their chops to try and make us have a better life here in Grenada. Okay?
And they're not appreciated.
They're not appreciated.
That is why I feel we can do a lot more. And it takes money to do things. And yes, the NDC has to reach out there and also ask members to contribute financially, because we need to go out there and talk to people. We need to be able to produce things. And we're doing a lot of fundraisers. We have a couple things planned coming up in the next several months. And hopefully October is the anniversary of the party. We're going to have a series of activities in October leading up to the convention. So especially after Carnival, there's going to be a greater hype. But over the next 6 weeks prior to Carnival, we're going to be doing some things to really show Grenadians that the party is back on track and we're serious about governance of Grenada.
All right. So, Kennedy, you believe you got things under control and that you guys can make a difference?
I think the team is working hard. The team is gelling. We have just appointed a new interim chairman. And I think we can tell the public, Brother Terry Moore, who is an old stalwart of the NDC. He's a former director of planning, permanent secretary. He's a very organized and he has contributed to Grenada in so many different ways. And as our interim chairman, he's going to be leading us into this convention so that we can get that new team in place.
When can we expect to start hearing stuff from you guys?
Well, we've started. In the last several weeks, we've been on a lot of the programs. We've been out there. Our Facebook page is being given a lot more content. And I believe as we roll out the plans over the next few weeks and we get out to the public and have those public meetings, that is going to be an indicator for us if the supporters of the party is getting energized and how we're going to be doing. But over the next few weeks, we're going to certainly be having a lot of activities.
So that's something to look forward. That in itself is something to look forward to.
Certainly.
All right. All right, Kennedy. So convention, possibly some date in November.
Yeah, more than likely.
And you're also going to be electing a new political leader.
However, I hope that political leader emerges before convention. Not that I hope, I know. Because based on what we're going to be doing in the field, those persons who are interested in becoming the political leader and the deputy and the general secretary and the chairman and all posts, because all the positions will be up for re-election. So a team has to emerge. A team has to be pulled together. We won't be waiting till convention day to wonder, okay, boy, who they electing? I wonder. No. I think the leader is going to emerge. So by September, October, we will know who that leader is and we will converge around building the team to support that leader.
In general, would it be fair to say that the people can look forward to seeing new faces?
Well, certainly. We're hoping that the persons, people who are not currently involved with the party officially but might support the principles and the philosophies of the party would step forward and show their interest. There have been a lot of names bandied around the place as potential leaders and interested in yes, and I said, come on, the more the merrier, step forward, join the party. Get involved in your constituency, get involved with the media, get involved with the people, let them see that you're advocating for them, and the people will ultimately determine your leader. The people are the ones who are going to decide, I'm resonating with this vision, and so those who are interested, step forward early. Express your interest early, because the people are waiting. So let's see the party do the work, and let's see that new leader emerge to give hope to the Grenadian people.
All right, Mr. Roberts, let me say thank you for spending your Whitsuntide Sunday with me.
It's a pleasure.
And we're going to be following you to make sure that things really happen. The people of this country need hope.
Yep.
Terry, they need hope. And it's been a very long and trying few years, and there's a lot of frustration.
Especially the last year. You know, some party supporters tell me, I said, God, 15-0 twice, it's hard to take, but we believe we can rebound. We believe that we can give hope to the people, and I'm working as part of that team to do that.
Well, that's good. It's good that there is optimism. You have to believe that we can do. We can't just throw our hands up in the air and say no.
Definitely.
Okay. But there has to be a change in mindset.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving there.
Okay. Kennedy Roberts, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate seeing you, and I look forward to your next visit. You don't have to wait on me to call you and say, come here, Kennedy.
All right.
All right?
I'll take you up on that.
Take care. Kennedy Roberts.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenelec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right, Grenada, time to hightail it out of here, but not before we share with you this parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Romans chapter 12, verses 14, 15, and 16. Bless those who persecute you. Bless. Do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Sounds appropriate for every political party in this country. Yeah? My dear friends, that's going to do it. I hope you'll join me tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, and every weekday morning for Good Day, Grenada. Thank you so much. May the good Lord bless and keep you. See you tomorrow.